Hello, I am Mateo, and welcome back to another bass singer interview. Today I have Caleb Burley, so if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi there, yeah, hi. I haven't posted much, honestly, if I will admit. My service has been a little janky, but I do normally post things, and I will be getting things in soon. Nice to see everybody here.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
so the first question I have is what got you into music?
Good question. I guess I'd probably just have to say my mom, because ever since I was about like two or so, um, yeah, pretty much ever since I was born, basically, my mom always had music going on. The radio, whatever nonsense, whatever she could download back when we had to like pirate music to get it to work and everything. And so I listened to a lot of stuff there. And honestly, I think even until now, honestly, my favorite genre is probably still jazz and all that for listening to music. I used to listen to that personally. But yeah, it's been a long time. It's been like my whole life's been basically music without actually being taught properly.
Yeah, and were you always singing a lot back then too?
I would always hum a lot of things. You kept me humming. I thought apparently, according to my mom, I was always more of a dancer than a singer in my earlier days. But I couldn't even imagine how that looked, just a little kid dancing, I guess. But no, I think I took an interest in music, like singing wise, basically. It was a little later, honestly. It was maybe like 10 or 11. I was listening to the radio. I was listening to a lot of like Bruno Mars. I don't know why. I think Bruno was probably my biggest like music inspiration at the time. Just because he had those fun little like modern day elements mixed with some like older stuff that I knew, and I kind of liked it. And I was having fun hitting those notes, but can't do those now, not very well.
Yeah, I assume that was back when, before your voice dropped. And when did your
Yeah.
voice drop? And what was it like when it happened?
Honestly, this one's more weird, I guess. I see a lot of interviews that like say Barry White, the most famous Barry White interview, where he talks about how his voice just dropped one day, and it wasn't quite as dramatic as that. Apparently, I had a couple of voice cracks or so, like a very few voice cracks on 13. But nothing really ever happened until 14. So like it was very minor. I retained everything. It's just sometimes my voice would cut out. And then all I really remember is that one day in 14 that I couldn't hit certain notes. And I didn't even know how low my voice was until maybe about a couple months later when I decided to do choir. And I was humming along to some bass singer like compilations like Tim Faust and all of them. I used to watch those on YouTube maybe like 11 or 12 years ago. And one day I realized that I was like matching them with A1s. And I was like, oh, I should probably try it with choir.
Ah,
So like it was over the course of like 4 months or so, but yeah, I probably didn't even realize what I had until like 4 months in.
ah. And what's it like being in choir? Like, did you get to do any really low notes, any first octave notes or anything in your choir?
I got to do a couple. A fun story about my choir teacher is that like, well, I only reached down to about A1 then, and then when I did my choir test, like they did the basic standard stuff. Hey, what do you think you are? What do you know? Like, what do you sing as? Can I test your range or whatever to see what we have to work with? And then it was going down on the piano, and it was like, okay, yeah, right, awesome. You're getting pretty low. Okay, F2, B2, D2, C2, B1, A1. Oh my God, G1. Oh, okay, not quite a G1. Cool. I was like, all right, cool. And he was like, yeah, that's the best. That's the best we're gonna. Like that's the best I've seen anybody go. Like lower wise, he was super excited to have me, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, we were only like a choir of like 10 or 11. We had a school glee club. And that was like by far the most popular thing because well, Glee was popular back then, and everybody wanted to do the flashy showman stuff and like perform and everything too. And I was more introverted, so I stuck with choir and I was having fun. But unfortunately, I didn't get to do many low notes. I did get to do a couple of fun warm up test notes. I was messing around with subharmonics back then too, so it wasn't the greatest. But I got to do an E1 just for the jokes because I got to do it once at the end of a liturgy in subharmonics, and then I got to do a couple of chest B1s and a chest C2, and those were only for me, but they were fun to do. I had to be mic'd at that moment because I was my technique was pretty bad still, but I was mic'd and we would sing that, and I would do C2s and B1s.
Nice. And yeah, having an A1 for a high school choir teacher is probably not something they get a lot. I remember when I was in high school, there was a guy that I tested the range of a few times, and he had an A1 as well, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like I do think that I probably had a little bit lower. Like I do think that I probably had at least like a G or maybe even a D flat on me at that time. But like due to my horrible technique, there's no way I could no way could ever like come close to that. I got a couple of G's in the morning one time, and then like my technique was like between decent, somewhat decent, and then like really bad, depending on what I did. Like when I emulated other bass singers, because had none of the darkness, I would like over darken and compress my lyrics and everything, and then it would sound bad. But I still had a substance, like a substantial A1. So it's like I'm sure I had like a little bit below that, but I did not know that as a kid.
Yeah, and your timbre is definitely very bright for someone as low as you are. And
Yeah, I don't think there's many people who are like are closer to me. I think people in the Bay Singing Nations they originally compared me to what was his name? Another like I think he was a South Korean from or whatever. I forget his name. I'm forgetting his name. But he was like the only person I've ever seen that was like moderately bright, still way darker than me because he
Shangmin
was
Kim?
like 50 years old. Changmin Kim, yeah, yeah. They were like, "Oh yeah, you'll probably sound like him when you're older," and I'm like, "Oh, that's the first time I've ever heard somebody who doesn't sound like Pasikov or somebody like that. It was like absurdly dark, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel like I fit in here."
Yeah. Do you ever get mistaken for being a baritone because of your bright timbre?
No, I don't ever get mistaken for a baritone because of my bright timbre, but I do get called a baritone because a lot of people, like in bars and karaoke, when I go around and singing, they call me a baritone. I'm like, oh wow, you've got a rich baritone voice, and I'm just thinking in my head like, you mean bass, but it's okay. They always
Yeah.
misconstrue the instrument with the voice. They're like, well, you can't be a bass because that's a guitar, and I'm like, I know, but you can. So I let it slide. I do get called a baritone all the time, but I'm
Yeah.
just like, hey, you know what? I know what you mean. Thanks for liking my
Yeah.
performance.
But you do have a really good high range.
Yeah,
I
I
know
do have a
that
pretty good
you've
high
worked
range.
on that a lot. Do you have any tips for improving your high range? Because I think you've gone up to like A4 and stuff before.
Yeah, I've gone to A4. I've gone to I think most recently that B flat 4. Now it's kind of really hard to tell like up that range. Like I have to over lighten to hell and back basically to actually get up there at the moment. So I don't count them. That's why I don't ever post anything like that. But yeah, in general, I don't really know how to describe it to be honest. I honestly think like I hit certain breakthroughs like in my mind, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh hey, this works, and then I'm like screaming along A4s while I'm cooking, and it's always while I'm cooking or something when something loud's happening and I don't have my phone on me. It's like oh my goodness. But I guess if I had any sort of tip, just like feel where your resistance is. Like everyone's gonna have a block, but like feel where your resistance is. And know when to not push things realistically, because that's when a lot of bases have a lot of damage. Like I learned a very harsh lesson when I was 17, doing really, really bad, horrible technique, high seventh octave whistle notes. As I'm sure a lot of people you've interviewed or listen to range, they like to do that. That's kind of how I fell into learning how to do that at like 16. And I already had pretty bad technique, so it didn't go very well. And I had to like pretty much speak very quietly, if at all, and drink like lemon ginseng tea for like 3 weeks straight. Have like
Oh
black
man.
coffee with tea in it. And ever since then, I recovered just fine, surprisingly, which is better than most people who do. But ever since then, I was like, I'm not touching anything if my voice sounds like it's gonna hurt doing so. I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Yeah. And is the high range something that you had to work for that developed over time, or is it just something that you always had?
No, it was definitely something I had to learn back, like for all of it, like with chest range. I probably was unknowingly doing a lot of like really high falsettos and stuff like that. I just didn't know what that was as a kid, so trying to learn to get that back, I was just trying to like, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do all of this. And I kind of figured it out. I think emulating. I was talking to a few of the sopranos in my choir, my high school choir, and like listening to them and trying to like emulate it, Loki, and kind of just being a nerd in the corner, kind of helped with that sometimes. My music teacher and my choir teacher, he helped out a lot with that too. And I had an English teacher I used to play at like mini school concerts with. He would do the guitars and stuff like that, but he sung a little bit, so he kind of helped me like realize that basically, realize what I could do again. But I've been working on it for a very long time, to be honest.
Ah.
Yeah, I took a break though. I took a break for like 3 years, and I just focused on lows. And then I probably should have trained my highs in that time too. But I was like, yeah, I don't want to. Lows are fun.
And I know you've done like a few a cappella covers and stuff. Do you have any, advice for arranging these covers or anything that tips you want to give to people who want to do those kind of things?
Um, Good question, honestly. Not really sure to be honest. Like, well, can I when I go about doing like covers and stuff like that, acapella covers, I kind of just like I have an idea in my mind and I just kind of run with it. Like, I listen to like I think different to most other interviews or maybe interview people you have dealt with. I listen to like basically everything. I've always listened to pretty much everything in my life. So like my inspiration sometimes I can't even tell where it comes from. I just have a million ideas in my mind and a million different like fusions in my mind, and I just test it. Honestly, my biggest advice would probably just be test it. Like if you're not sure something's gonna work, just do it. The worst you got to do is you delete like 5 minutes of your time trying something that doesn't work. So like my kind of advice is like if you're more into like karaoke or if you're more into like any sort of like making projects with creativity, just my advice is just do it. Honestly, just do it, and then if it doesn't work out, cut it. If it's a little too wild for that section, cut it. If you think you can move it somewhere else, you want to extend a song, something, because I like acapella because it's limitless freedom. Like you're not stuck to a backing track because I don't know how to say I don't know how to remake the track, so I can't add different parts or extend different parts. But like with acapella, you can do whatever you want. So if you wanna go off and do that, then just do it. If it doesn't
Uh,
work, it doesn't work. If you think it'll work at a later part, just move it off to the side. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. Just have fun with it, honestly.
and do you have any upcoming projects that you're working on or that you have planned for the future?
The product list just keeps going and going and going. It's been too long since I've actually gotten a proper setup going. But yeah, I have a few. I don't mind talking about a few. I was in the works of, I believe, the most obvious one that was in the works of. I'm trying to see if I can get a couple of other people, including Vaquero, who you interviewed earlier. I know he went offline off the grid, but I do have a way to talk with him. I'm trying to see if maybe he'd still be down with doing a project with that. But I was gonna do the Get Down by Avi Kaplan. I remember I arranged it and everything. It could use some work. It's been a couple of years since I pulled it out of the vault. But the original people I was gonna do it with, they just had a lot of other stuff to be dealing with. Like they got to the point where they were gonna start recording things and everything, and we're gonna do the professional setup. But things just didn't work out, and honestly, I got to kind of put on the back burner. So I do want to revive that. I have a few other crazy, outlandish ideas I don't mind sharing because they're not in development yet, but I know exactly how it would sound if I were to do so. I just haven't taken the time to chart it out. I wanted to do the Oh Death song, but turned it into a sea shanty with dubstep elements and a rap aspect to it, which is going to sound extremely weird to say out loud. People are going to look at
Yeah.
me, they're like, you are the devil. If this was the 1300s, you would be crucified for being a witch. But I have that as an idea. I have a few others, but I'm leaving those ones kind of just to figure out. And I do have a popular cover of a game that I do want to do that currently, as how I have it mapped out, spans B flat 0 to D6, which is kind of interesting. That'll be a little bit, it'll be pretty similar to the Katy Perry ET song that I had in terms of range. A little different, though. It'll be fun.
Do you
So
have
those are my fun projects, yeah.
do you have any inspirations when it comes to bass singing or even just music in general?
Um, yeah, I have I have a million of them, but if I were to point any one, like any standalone ones out, let's see. Stevie Wonder is a big one. Stevie Wonder, grew up listening to Stevie Wonder a lot. I like his powerful soul-like messages, and I just like the way he vibes with the music. He's like one of the. A lot of my inspirations will dial down to will boil down to basically just whoever seems like they're having the most fun, the most experimentation with their music. Whoever just does something, they have an idea and they run with it in their head and they just kind of go for it. And whether it works out or it doesn't, most of them do because they put on an album. It's just kind of fun to see somebody who has like a lot of fun with the music, whether it's like expressing themselves or having a sad tone or having a great tone, a happy tone. So I would say people who fall into that are like Stevie Wonder. I like people who tell stories with their music, like old school stories. And I think one of my favorite voices is Bob Seger, specifically. He's an American songwriter, singer. He's been in a couple of bands, but mostly does solo stuff for like 50 years. I don't know if I ever get to see him in concert, but I'd like to. Recent inspirations, probably like the big Dimash. Everybody knows Dimash at this point. I discovered him in 2016, a little before the I Am the Singer, and it was just cool like listening to somebody who could go that high, and that's kind of how I emulated a lot of my highs. So he's kind of the reason I got some of my highs, honestly. I emulated his technique, and although I could not do it nearly as much, nearly as well, it did help unlock a couple of things. Other inspirations, let's see. More recent ones, definitely Jacob Collier. I listen to a lot of his stuff. Again, one of those people who just kind of like paints the world with his music and just kind of does whatever, and it's fun. Anybody else? Anyone else who stands out? Marvin Gaye, and Michael Jackson, Queen, all of them. I have a lot of inspiration from them. Honestly, the list could go on and on, but those are probably some of my like top favorites, personally.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for doing the interview. But before we head out, we have one final question. What's your lowest note?
Oh boy, let me drink some water quickly. Yes, I have an M&M's cup. Honestly, I couldn't tell you, but it's not going to be as fun as you'd hope it would be. Let's see here. Roughly around there. My voice is really scuffed right now. I don't know what
that was.
I don't know really sure. I want to say like an A flat. My voice is really cooked right now.
Yeah.
I bought, and I'll probably send you a clip that's like 2 hours later after I warm up and hydrate properly, and it'll be like F1 again. But like, yeah.
All right. And that's all I got right can you do a low subharmonic?
Oh, I haven't warmed those up yet. Let's see here. Ooh. I don't even know if that's picking up at all at this point.
It did. That was really low. I don't know what it was.
That's unstable. I wouldn't count that. I don't know. It's a little lower, though.
I feel like that was like upper 0 octave, I think. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, probably around there. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if I did like non-chest subharmonic, it could be lower, but I don't even think it'll pick up at that point.
Yeah. All right. Well.
I'm sure the comments will figure out what that is, or I'll listen back later.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing the interview, and thank you all for watching. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.